During these unprecedented times, it is important to acknowledge the mental health of our children. Limit their access to news that may frighten them, and mind your reactions because it affects them. Be aware that children have difficulty putting their anxiety into words, and mental illness symptoms take longer to appear in children. Try to spend corona-free time in a safe space with your children once a day. Pay attention to your child's mental health.
This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Health with support from the Japan International Cooperation Agency.
And at midnight, Sergeant Major Sidney Small of Birmingham lowers the Union Jack that has flown in Uganda for nearly 70 years. At the same moment, the 4th Battalion King's African Rifles becomes the 1st Battalion Uganda Rifles. And to replace the Union Jack, the black, gold and red flag of the new young state, Uganda is born again, free and independent.
I have invited you so that I give some few thoughts, maybe to the people who are not there, on the journey, why the journey of independence. And although this is done out of my house, we must observe and be conscious that COVID is around and is killing people. So precautions must be made. So now, as I have a story to tell, you allow me that I'm not interacting or spreading the disease electronically. But I want to be audible enough to my audience so that they are able to pick the journey properly. Now, the journey to independence up to now, first of all, we must say it started. Why the journey of independence? It means once you wanted to be independent, it means there is somebody who is suppressing you. And the British and the other imperialist powers, at one time, they were dominant in the world. They tried very many ways as to how to subdue the people under there. They wanted to colonize. Now, in Uganda, they found obstacles in subduing us. We had the resistance of Kabarega. We had, as soon as we realized that we are under suppression, with the Enlightenment, people began questioning whether we are benefiting or not. And I always take a very simple example, that my realization did not come within Uganda. It was after India got independence in 1957, and then they began also giving just chance to go and experience what an independent people can do, and also to vibrate our brains so that our brains can accommodate more ideas. Now, so my realization that life is not what it should be was in India. And out of my realization, I looked at the situation at home and I took just a few parameters, because education was everything. When you are a graduate, you've reached the world. I said, the British have been here for quite some time. But what was the position at the time when we ultimately wrestled them out of the Uganda? You take education. There were only 500 people with O level in a population of 6.57 million. Now, that alone, there were only 103 graduates. And 2 of whom were Muslims, and I happen to have been one. So this disturbed my mind. And then, not only that, when I looked at the economic structure in the country, there was no way we could have continued with that. Because society was stratified. The British, who were 19,800, manned all jobs in the country, right from the governor up to the parish priest, who used to come from Ichigo to a parish on every Sunday to conduct mass. Even conducting of mass could not be entrusted to a non-white. So, on the economic, that is on the social, on the economic, I discovered that while our people were growing cotton and coffee, the beneficiaries were not them. I take, for example, cotton, which was a very tedious crop for 9 months. It enslaved the whole of the household, with the householder as the chief nyampara, his wife as the twice, and we, the children, as free labor. And what was the benefit? Lugard, who represented the East African British Company, and the company is made to make profits. In 1930, they had the growing of cotton had reached its peak in Uganda. And by 1939, they were able to pay for the loan that constructed Mombasa Port and the rail line up to Kampala, including a branch to Kenya Highlands, where the British were settlers. They are the ones in very good houses. They were the ones riding cars, and the commerce was completely in the hands of Indians, which was also an immigrant group, because the British, in order to build that railway, they had problems with the Africans because they don't eat the railway. So they could come, force the people to lay the railway line. During that night, they could go and dismantle it. So, as they were ruling the whole world, they had a solution. They went to India collected all the beggars on the streets of Bombay and brought them to build the railway. Some were killed and eaten by lions. The man-eaters of Savo, if you are well read, that's when I began to appreciate those things. Or they fell in the Nile when they were making a bridge, and they were saying, "A karaye good day." So, but because they had no alternative, at least they also organized and built the railway up to Kampala. Now, the bulk were returned, but some were retained and were given the whole of the economy to run. To the extent that by independence, only 5% of the economy was in African hands. Then we also saw Musazi's attempt to try and see how he can get the Africans who grow cotton and coffee also process them and have access to the external market, which is denied to them. We saw his failure. So the conclusion was, with the experience we had, with the visible reasons here, a few of us decided to come back and galvanize our people, having already seen the technology of liberation from Gandhi. We came and applied it here. We assembled everybody, and within a short time, the conditions, of course, favored us. The objective and subjective conditions assisted us, because it was after World War II when Britain, although it won the war, but it lost it. It was no longer a power. America was coming in because they also wanted to play a role in Africa. So these were the events why we agitated for our independence. I'm one of the lucky fellows because I participated in all these struggles. First of all, as a student leader, at the time when the whole of Asia, the whole of Africa, the whole of Latin America were waking up, clamoring for independence. So any youth leader, these were our protege, or we were their protege, and we were taken up and absorbed by this movement. That's why up to now we still have that mantle, and I seem to be the only one around, because all my colleagues have gone. Two of my colleagues have retired, the former Prime Minister, Chintu Soke, who encouraged me, by the way, to become a student leader. And Bidandi Sali, who also joined the anger to free our people. And we joined, our leader was John Kakonge and our Dada Musani. And we came here and we had the technology of putting the different forces together so that once you are united, we were in a position to dictate that on the 9th of October, the British must end. So that was a successful story.
When WHO declared COVID-19 as a pandemic, the Ministry of Health reactivated the National Task Force.
So from history, we have been managing the previous pandemics, SARS, Ebola, and our motto was to stay safe in order to treat others.
We are looking at training healthcare workers continuously. We've applied this capacity building to the entire country.
We should continue getting the essential services that we have been getting before, so that we don't die from the other condition when we are trying to prevent COVID-19.
Our mission to ensure the safety of Ugandans is long-standing, and we promise to see it through till COVID-19 is eradicated.
This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Health with support from the Japan International Cooperation Agency.
After independence, a number of moves were taken. One, because some of you imagine that being a youth is a virtue. And when you look at some of us, you don't imagine that we are also very sharp youth. If we can be able and visible and reasonable at this age, you could imagine what we were when we were of the younger age. So you are not the first one to be young. Even the independence, we were younger. But the forces that we found under which to galvanize the struggle for independence were comparatively young. Obote was 35, Mutesa was 39, Kivejinja was 28. Our own leader was 26. So automatically, we were younger. Our intention was to galvanize the population, organize it, so that when they are in a position, then they can take their decisions. Now, that one, of course, was stopped. First of all, Obote had a picked quarrel with us. They feared us so much. He says, these people, these younger boys, if they have come here and organized all of us to independence, they are very dangerous. And for us, if we don't follow their way, they will just throw us. It was not our intention. But you see, somebody you cannot take an idea out of his head. When we were more or less done away with, then they picked on each other's neck. Calling it Obote, Akalango, Tekasana Kodokoro, Tekasana Kukulebera. And what ended up is everybody's story. So guns were involved, and because you use others who hold the gun, the others also realized that after all we are the creators of power. So he said, when he tried to also conspire against them, they conspired along with the other forces to remove him, and they installed themselves in power. And that was the military regime. And that again brought us to the liberation. So events up to independence, the most important factor is that with the understanding and the history, the infusion of the group from India was a big factor. It was an event, but it had problems because we were not happy, the Indian group, because Obote had already shown that he does not want us. We were not happy. And we spent, after seeing the flag brought down of the British and the Ugandan one going up, we spent the whole time, the whole night, pulling down the flags of these hostile countries and making a bonfire out of them. So that is how we spent the independence. Now, having attained independence and the country having already moved in a different direction, the turn for the Armeni came up, and they went and organized and tried to get to attack Tanzania. So that Tanzania was an organized society. So they had to mobilize to see that they remove the conquest out of Tanzania, and also faced with the question of if we throw the snake out, but just across the neighbor, will not come, will it prevent it again to appear on our side? So that's when all groups met in Moshi, and Nyerere was clever enough to call anybody who wanted to overthrow Amin to take up arms. So Museveni, who has been groping with, he was a hungry man. He was given the Western Front because everybody had to be, because the Ugandan groups were so antagonistic. By the time Amin fell, he was the only one with the biggest army. His ability to recruit was given by this Tanzanian invasion. And when he came here, the political arrangement we tried was again overthrown, and Obote again was destined to bring back the country into the same old style. So we talked to Museveni. He says this is not a military stance, but a political stance. So let's get a party so that which stands apart from the DP, apart from the UPC, we remain as the UPM. And with that UPM, we were able to launch our campaign throughout the country so that our message and ourselves introduce ourselves. And Museveni told us that your prescription to bring this country for independence cannot be able to work, because in Uganda things have gone so much that what is required, we need to go back to the fundamentals. We got back to the population and organize them, and they create an army out of them, liberate this country from the oppressive regimes, and begin a new life. We were able to organize a peasant army, not of educated people, not with the people who have been to Mono and Sandhurst, but ordinary people. And they overthrew the regime and the bad rules and established their own. That is the trickery of why the longevity of Museveni. Those who imagine that the NRM revolution is about to wind up. No, I don't think, because we went back to the fundamentals, while the other people only picked what was available. People have been asking, why has Museveni overstayed? No, he has not overstayed. He has his own program that was started in Ruwero. And the children of the fighters, many have become graduates and technicians. The roads that were connecting country to country, they are already in place. And recently, we even initiated Pan-African roads, because Museveni and Tshisekedi met and agreed to construct a good stretch of road inside the Congo, because Belgium they were not interested in the people knowing. And you find that Eastern Congo is really, as soon as you reach the border, the rest is wild naked roads. But now they have agreed to extend the roads inside, and then we shall be able to interact more with the Eastern Congolese, more trade. There are many things. Thank you very much for this program, and I would ask you to continue watching the UBC so that you are able to know more, because I have not given this interview to any other person. And I think you are a most reliable UTV, not after news, but after education, because you may not know the journey on where you are and where you want to.